Hi, my name is Hannah, and today we're interviewing Marcelino. Marcelino is the London-based deputy CEO of a French construction group. Today, he gave us his view on business and economic trends as the curve flattens and we emerge into a post-pandemic world.
This podcast channel is about you, successful international entrepreneurs, successful expats, successful investors. Sponsored by HCJ.tax.
We're live. Good morning, Marcelino. How are you?
I'm good, Derren. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Long time no see. Good to catch up with you. Please, could you introduce yourself to those who may be listening or watching you?
Sure. So my name is Marcelino Fuller. I'm the Deputy CEO of the EDM Group. EDM is a marble subcontractor working in the luxury residential market and the super prime development markets. We work internationally across all major countries and markets where you have luxury or residential development. We also work very closely with all the high-end retail brands, so Hermes, Louis Vuitton, Dior. So we've pretty much got a space in the luxury construction market across all the various spheres.
Right. And I guess given that your group is pretty international, you have exposure and you get involved in quite a number of geographies. Yeah.
Yeah. So geography-wise, we're based in the UK, in France, specifically in Paris and Monaco. We're in Switzerland and Geneva. We're in the Middle East, across Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, but we also do jobs out in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, but we've got the offices in those three locations. We're in Asia, in Hong Kong and China. We're also in the US, with offices in New York and Miami, and we're in Toronto. We've also got a setup in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, where we've got a factory as well as EDM business. And we've also got a factory in Lisbon. Mm-hmm. So we've got a pretty good, let's say, geographic coverage worldwide. Mm-hmm. So we have all various types of exposure. And COVID is essentially a completely new type of exposure that's coming. Mm-hmm. That you have that you can't anticipate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a great segue into that topic. Obviously, this is unprecedented, and once we come out at the other end, whenever that may be, hopefully soon, things certainly will not be the same. So, from your perspective, with that global vantage point, what do you see changing as we emerge into a post-pandemic world?
I think there's two elements to this. The first thing is in traditionally the luxury construction market has been a market that when you have recession, generally a lot of the wealthy, the individuals, the high net worth individuals in the world, they invest in property during recession. They get their property significantly cheaper, and from a construction standpoint, it costs them a lot less to do the renovations and or to build brand new as they want. So generally, a recession should spell for a company like EDM a new wave of investment, which should feed our markets. Today, we don't know. We really don't know with COVID if that trend will continue or not. The last, let's say, couple of weeks, as a group, because EDM is part of a larger group called Atelier de France, and the Atelier de France group, it's basically many subcontractor trades in the luxury market. It's very similar to EDM. So we pretty much are a group of luxury high-end subcontractors feeding the luxury high-end construction market. Mm-hmm. Since COVID, the group has signed just over 41 million euros of business, which is quite significant in the context that our business last year we did a turnover of almost 300 million euros. So it's a hefty chunk. Mm-hmm. In the 5 weeks following COVID. In the UK, we've seen a lot of requests for us for tendering new projects. So that's very, very encouraging signs. Mm-hmm. But each market is different. So we're going to find out now the traditional resilience that existed in our market. We're going to find out now if that exists under COVID, because you just don't know. You just don't know. So coming back to your question, the world changing after COVID. The first question is, will the markets rebound or act in the manner that you've seen previously, or will they are completely different? I think that's what we're going to discover. And I'll come back to that shortly. The other element of it is what's how to say it. The other element of it is construction will come back, markets will come back eventually. But I think what's going to happen as a result of COVID, there's going to be, I believe there will be COVID is going to spur change in the construction industry to bring more technology and more, let's say, automation into construction. I really do believe that. And why I'm saying that is, for amongst all the industries, all the traditional industries that exist in the world, the one industry that has not been significantly modernized with technology is the construction industry. Technology that has been driving construction industry is all machinery based, whether it's a crane or it's a pump or whatever. But the actual on-site delivery of construction is still heavily labor intensive. And because of that labor intensive nature of construction, you have shortages of labor, of skilled labor in many countries when you've got a boom. Not just in terms of actual hands-on labor on site, installing product, but also in terms of project management. It's a real shortage, and that labor shortage and professional shortage has a direct cost impact on what it takes to deliver construction projects. So anyone in the construction realm will know that you lose a lot of money in the construction industry due to the lack of sufficient resources in the industry. And I think COVID and social distancing and what we're going to start discovering out of force, we have no choice but to work differently, and that will allow us to see things differently. And I believe that the outcome of that is going to be a change in how we choose to work on construction sites. So, like they say, necessity is the mother of invention. COVID now we're going to work completely different on site. So we'll see things that, and try things that we have to try for survival. But no one would have thought about doing it before because it was just unheard to try it differently. So I think you're going to have those two elements, how the markets are going to move and react and rebound to COVID. And the second element is how we're going to build. If I come back to the markets, the US market, for example, we don't know if it's going to rebound as it would have traditionally rebound in the luxury sphere after recession. Because when you look at, I think the US market for quite a while has been waiting for an opportunity to correct. So with correction means investments going to pull back. But the other element of all this, and it's a big unknown in construction, is how many people are really going to want to invest in, and I'm talking about my market now, how many people are going to really want to invest in multi-million-dollar properties in centers that in the future is going to be at the heart of a pandemic. So is it going to be a shift now in where people want to live? And is there going to still be high value on property, or is the demand for high value property going to remain in the quantities that of stock that you have in places like New York, London, Singapore, or is that going to change somewhat? Because today many of the wealthy individuals of the world, I don't have the figures, but I'd imagine a good percentage of them are not in their properties, in the heart of London or in the heart of New York. I'd imagine they're in their properties in much more discrete rural locations, and they're running their businesses. So they're going to very quickly see how easy it is to run their business from a different type of luxury location. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't know if the traditional luxury markets like New York, Hong Kong, London, Paris, if these markets are going to continue to be hubs for development of the luxury high-end sector, or if it's going to move now to places like Marbella, to Malibu, to more rural-based type of locations where you don't have metros and you don't have tens of millions of people living. We just don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen, because working from home means that many people have already started changing their business model and changing where they decide is necessary to be to conduct business. So I think these are the two. For me, I see these as being the two main things that we're going to discover in the coming months, years. Is there going to be? I don't want to say. Is there going to be a new push towards where luxury high-end construction is going to be located, meaning out of big metropolises, or is it going to be? And is the market going to change in terms of how we deliver projects in the industry? And I think you're going to see both happening, if I'm honest.
Yeah. So in terms of, I guess for me as a lay person, when I think real estate, I think commercial and residential, and definitely within residential. I had a conversation with some immigration experts, like last week or the week before, and just talking about trends for high net worth individuals. And you're right. There's a push for more. I mean, social distancing is here to stay. So whether it's just a good habit to have, or whether because dealing with pandemics is going to be part of the cycle of life, there'll be cycles of opening up, lockdown, opening up, lockdown. And I remember reading an article in the New York Times where they're saying that Manhattan has more or less, for the high-end developments or buildings, they're more or less empty as people have disappeared into the Hamptons, Martha's Vineyard, the other more rural areas where they have space. And so you have that backup, you have your second, your third home in that more comfortable location. So even if you lock down, you have a couple acres to run around. And then you're looking in terms of second citizenships and residencies. You're looking at people want access to Europe, nicer parts of Europe, and New Zealand. New Zealand is hot, as is Australia, Canada, where jurisdictions that aren't densely populated, where people can have a nice home with lots of space and from which they can run their businesses remotely. And then from the commercial side, though, this is interesting, because you did mention high-end brands like Louis Vuitton and stuff, that as the shift continues to e-commerce, of course the rhetoric here in the US that shopping malls are being threatened. Is that affecting the high-end space as well? Or is the high-end shopping sector something where people still want that in-person experience and it doesn't lend itself as easily to online shopping? And therefore the high-end commercial space, that will be here to stay? What are your thoughts on that?
It's an interesting question. Today, for example, in China, the luxury brands we're working with, they're still opening shops. Right now, we're doing deliveries for some top brands in China, in Taiwan, in Hong Kong, whereas in the US and Toronto, we've had those same brands put the development on hold. And I would have thought it's the other way around. I would have thought maybe the US and Canada, you'd see the developments going on, and China would be the hold because of the risk of the virus coming back in China and how quickly it can spread again. So, excuse me. The truth is, I don't know. I don't know, but I think the whole concept of luxury shopping it's an experience, and it's a way to go out and to spend your money. And I just don't know if luxury shopping will take off and replace that sort of retail space with e-commerce. I just don't know. I don't have enough information about that. But what I can say is I would imagine that brands will keep the luxury stores, because I think a good portion of it is coming from people who want to buy those brands, and they want to buy those brands when they're shopping, and they're taking tax-free benefits from it. So you can get 20% off but we pay for something, and people are just spending. I mean, a couple of people I've been talking to, we believe that there's going to be a big shift in the whole, let's say, material nature of things. So, the number of people who were previously buying a Louis Vuitton handbag because it looked good to have on Instagram, I don't think that's going to be popular anymore, because we're starting to realize there are things bigger than having a luxury brand in your hand. So, what percentage of the market that represents, I just don't know. But will there be a shift there or not? I mean, we're talking about things I think most of us just don't know. We're gonna find out. However, what I think luxury brands will just move to. I mean, they'll just move to the kind of models that they already have, which is you can have people coming in by invitation only. Because anyway, when you go into a Louis Vuitton store, you go into a Dior, Hermes, or any of these brands, the store, when you look at the number of people who are actually buying stuff in the store compared to the number of people who are looking, you probably, if you had, if you can only come to the shop by these boutiques by invitation only, and you had 10 people at a time, with social distancing, I think you'd have the same turnover generated, and these clients will have the space and the freedom they want with social distancing, and it will actually up the exclusivity of going to such a store. And you could create a waiting list, and you can do any number of things that would actually keep that store, that boutique popular, because you have to have a waiting list. So it could be something that, if your wife wants to go there, you get her an invitation, an exclusive invitation for a birthday. You don't even buy anything; you just get her the exclusive invitation because it takes 6 months to get on that list if you're not a regular Louis Vuitton member. Kind of like what Ferrari does. To buy a Ferrari, you have to have a certain profile, because otherwise it won't sell you, because they have such a great demand for Ferrari that they don't need to sell it to you. So you and I can't walk in and buy a Ferrari. You have to be somebody to buy a Ferrari. So I think the luxury space has the flexibility to adapt, and actually, but I think they can use the opportunity to make it more exclusive, which will drive the price up and drive the demand for it even more, because people want what they can't have, right? So I think those boutiques will continue to grow, and I just think they will operate it differently, and I think they have the capacity to operate. They have the opportunity to operate it differently and grow the market share.
Absolutely. And one of the trends that was observed even before this pandemic was rising social income and wealth inequality, both in income and wealth side, and this is throughout the world. And in the Western world, in the UK and the US, that growth in inequality was outpacing the continental Europeans. So with that in mind, definitely with the businesses that will struggle, I guess, would be those that target the middle class, which is shrinking. But if you're going up to the high end, as people become wealthier, and as you said, so many, I mean, wealth does disappear, but so much wealth is generated for those who position themselves well during a recession, during an economic contraction. So I think I say all that to confirm and to agree with you that the high-end space does see good signs ahead, good things ahead. But then, I think on the flip side, with growing inequality, you have relative social instability, which I guess feeds into the point we were discussing earlier about where to live. Because if you're in like an urban center, for example, London, and if you're saying that, just being random, if London is going to become, unemployment is rising, you have people that are desperate, and desperate people do desperate things, and one would expect crime would increase and so on. It increases the pressure on the wealthy to live somewhere more secluded and exclusive and protected.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of factors feeding into each other. So
I agree with you, and that comes to the point. Will these metropolitan hubs, London, the Paris, the New York, will they continue, or will people move to the other more traditional wealthy areas, which are almost secluded? To get there, you got to jump on a train, you got to drive there, and it's a lot easier to protect and to be safe in those areas, with the security that exists, etc. And I mean, there's a lot of talk that people's movements are going to start to be tracked now. The people are talking about with the pandemic, it's going to be the opportunity to put chips in everyone to monitor people. I think that's a bit extreme, but I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But definitely, if tomorrow there's social unrest, look at Paris. They're starting to have social unrest on the outskirts of Paris.
Yeah.
But I would argue that most of the wealthy people that lived in Paris took the opportunity to leave Paris and to go to their homes in the south of France or in Brittany, where they can just be, they can have a lot more freedom and space to move around, just to be able to walk outside in the gardens and to enjoy, what you can't enjoy being in an apartment in the center of Paris. So yeah, if there's trouble in Paris tomorrow, I don't think the wealthy Parisians are in Paris. I think they've already gone to their second or third homes, which are more in the rural countryside where it's safer to be. So for sure, I think that you'll see a shift there.
And the point sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, and potentially commercially, on the commercial business front, I think hot desking is going to become, it's already started, but I think it's going to very quickly explode because so many people are working from home today and working from home efficiently. Why would you go back to maintaining large office space? I mean, how many businesses today that can realistically have more people working from home, 3 days a week? And if you think of the middle classes, just having more people working from home means that more people can stop renting in the center of London and move out of London, because the commute into London may just be 2 days a week because they can do so much work from out of London. I mean, I was having a discussion before COVID, mid last year. A friend of mine, one of my neighbors, he's one of three owners, one of the owners of a large recruitment company in London, and he was talking about how his wife was coming back from maternity leave, and she was in recruitment as well. She wanted to get back into recruitment, and we just started talking about, he was thinking that that's a market that he can develop to get recruiters who are currently stay-at-home moms, because we've got a lot of ex-recruiters who are staying at home, as they had kids, and many of them want to get back out to do recruiting, but they don't know how because of the challenges with being full-time in an office. And I said to him at the point in time, why do you need a recruiter to be full-time in the office? Because if the mom is at home and she drops the kids off to school or to the nursery, but she's at home, she can just snap on her earphones and sit down behind a desk and start taking calls and talking to clients. And all the individual will need, or the stay-at-home dad, all the individual would need is, 2 days a week to come in and do meetings for 5 hours and then go back to wherever they live. So you really don't need to be based in an office all the time. I think the same in your industry. You don't need to be based in an office all the time. How much work? I mean, you just need to go and see your clients when you need to see your clients. And now, how many clients are actually going to want to meet just for the sake of meeting? I mean, I think technologies like Zoom, there's going to be an explosion in this realm of video conferencing and video communications. And don't be surprised if, the real player here is to get something where you can go into a virtual room and see holograms. I think that's where it's going to go, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And so, will somebody want to leave if they're having a great time and they're in Marbella? Will they want to jump on their private jet and fly to London for a business meeting when they can just come into a meeting and make the same decisions and get back to their life, especially when you don't know? The minute there's a pandemic starting in China or in Asia or in the US or wherever, everyone's just going to go into, they would remember today, and they're going to go where they want to be for a lockdown. They're not going to want to be stuck somewhere else, right?
Absolutely.
They're not going to want to be flying across continents and knowing what's happening, So you know, when you go back and you think about SARS, you think about bird flu, you think about all these things. Okay, we all were following it, but nobody started thinking about a lockdown. Nobody was thinking about a pandemic. No one was thinking about how is my business going to survive. Well, guess what? The next time one of these things pops up, everyone's going to remember what's happening today, because this is going to live long on your memory now. And we're at the beginning of it, so we don't even know what are the scars you're going to feel, what the emotional scars you're going to feel. I think we're gonna know more about the emotional scars of this pandemic on the world in general in the next, let's say, 6 months, when you see the real effect of it's having on economies. But I would imagine that individuals will remember this for, I mean, we're going to remember it for our generation, the generation below us, and depending on how long it goes, our kids are going to remember it. So now it's going to become, any pandemic growing is going to trigger a reaction. And so you know, businesses are going to change dramatically, but that's an opportunity, isn't it? So today it's how are these opportunities going to generate and develop themselves, and you know, how is that going to be? It all depends on the realms we're all in and how we look at it.
A point that, I mean, definitely that this is a pivotal point in history, as this is an historical moment, and conversations will be like, you know, before COVID and after COVID. I mean, it is such it is a landmark. It is a landmark, a stamp in time. Now, I want to go back to a point that you mentioned in passing earlier about the perhaps increasing challenges that will come in international travel. I landed in Tokyo last weekend, and what struck me is that, you know, normally first in business class, you deplane first, and then economy, premium economy, then economy. That's the norm, right? And for the first time, we deplaned by risk. So it was passengers who had been to South China and certain other areas that were named. They deplaned in one group. Those, you know, it was based on where you were and if you've been in contact with so and such. That was another bunch. You come out as a group. And when you landed in Tokyo, because it was during a lockdown, there were those who had a residence that they were going to, and then there were those who were going to the government-approved places where they put you in in isolation for 14 days. So it just struck me that it's not so far-fetched to envision that, health right now, before Singapore went into this even stricter phase of lockdown, they were saying that if you wanted to enter Singapore, you needed a health certificate. I mean, a passport plus a health certificate. So, and then, you know, there are other jurisdictions that talk about an app. So I don't know whether there'll be one commonly agreed upon mechanism or whether each jurisdiction would have their own thing. But I agree with you. I think that this is going to be something in the future. I agree with you.
Yeah. What I mean, you know, what you just said there, I mean, it's if I've got to go to, you know, before I go to Switzerland, I just jump on a plane, I fly in, and I come back the next day. Spend one night. When I was going to the Middle East, I'd go a bit longer, more because of the nature of the business. Fly out there on a Sunday, come back on a Friday morning, spend 4 nights there. The US, same thing. It's a long journey, so you spend a bit more time there because you go there once or twice a year. But now if you have to fly somewhere and do quarantine for 2 weeks, you're not going to go. You're not going to disappear for 3 weeks to go and visit someone for 4 days.
Yeah.
It just can't happen, can it? I mean, that's not realistic. I mean, what's going to happen to vacations? You know, who can travel to do a vacation if you got a quarantine for 2 weeks? So, and that's another thing. I mean, you know, with the way the air industry is today, I mean, the air industry is going to change for life now. I mean, already companies are starting to go into bankruptcy one by one. I mean, if the air industry it's dying a slow death as far as I'm concerned, because if by June, July, you know, normal travel can't resume, and normal travel means that you're not flying somewhere and have to go into quarantine for 2 weeks. If normal travel is not resuming, I mean, this industry is going to be destroyed completely. I mean, the capital costs, the fixed costs per day in this industry is so huge that, if it doesn't get going again and generating turnover to cover some of these fixed costs, it's going to be consumed. I mean, I have no clue. I've got no clue what that's going to look like when we're out of this. But my personal point of view is, I think another element of this whole COVID and quarantine thing is just people were buying time to build up more resilience of the healthcare system, to build more field hospitals, to build more space to manage people. And I think, if they go into, if the lockdown goes on for another month, another 6 weeks, I think it's all going to be about building more capacity. Because the reality is, the economy is going to have to get back going at some point, and that's going to mean a lot of sick people. You need the capacity to deal with sick people. I have no idea, to be honest. We just talk about things. We're speculating, aren't we?
Yeah, and that's a great point that you raised, that the damage to the aviation or the travel industry in general is irreparable. Unless you are a flag carrier. So, like, for example, Singapore Airlines, Singaporean government has thrown money in. The American-owned airlines, the U.S. government has thrown. So unless you have a government backing you, so like your Virgins, your Air Asia, well, Thomas Cook has gone already, but anyone that is not backed by a state, they would disappear. So you have fewer people traveling for the reasons you mentioned, fewer seats available, so it'll be more expensive. So it will be, the democratization of travel, perhaps it's over. The days of Ryanair and EasyJet and cheap flights, maybe that's gone, maybe. So, and obviously that has implications as well.
Yeah. Cruise ship business, it's going to take years to rebound afterwards, because everybody's going to be stigmatized now if you have an outbreak. But on the flip side, I think what's going to happen as well, you're going to have a lot more. I think there's going to be a lot more testing. It's going to be nothing for you to arrive somewhere and someone just checks a blood sample or something. I don't know. You're going to have a change in the norm of what we do as well. So before when you get to an airport, when you check your passport and you check your bags for health, if you have guns in your bag, it's going to be the same thing. They're going to check your blood and make sure you're okay to go on a. You're not okay, but
sorry.
You hear me?
I can hear you now, yes. I lost you for a few seconds, right?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm just saying the norm is changing. So.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Uncertainty abounds. But at least I imagine that for people who play in the sector that you play in, target the higher net worth individual, I dare say that the future looks bright. The future looks bright as that sector continues to grow and to be resilient, if not thrive, in situations like this. So
again, yes and no. I don't know if the London market is going to continue to take off the way it does, or if the markets are going to shift now and they're going to be more luxury developments going on in Brighton, for example, or some. I say Brighton because it's the first place that came to my mind, but it's. Are people going to? Are the rich going to move to different playgrounds and not consume themselves in the heart of metropoles? I think that's really what I think, and we got to follow that closely, because a traditional business like London, if tomorrow everything is happening, let's say out in Surrey or somewhere on the outskirts of London. That market's going to be different, and it's going to change who are going to become the new providers of our services. Because for us to pick up our business, which is centered in the center of London, and move it to outside of London, will our resources who work for us want to move out of London in the first instance? Second instance, are we going to be competitive taking guys who are on salaries from working in the center of London to outside of London compared to a more local business? You just don't know what's going to happen. You just don't know. You just got to follow it and try and stay close and take the opportunities as they come to stay ahead of the market as best as you can.
Okay.
It's all the unknown. But again, the unknown is opportunity. So
Absolutely.
either you look at it with fear and you're afraid, or you look at it from the opportunity standpoint, and you try to find position yourself to take the opportunities as they come.
Okay, so we're entering a time of great opportunities. Marcelino, thank you for your time. We appreciate your insight, especially given the sector that you've come from. I think that there's great benefit to some of the seeds of wisdom and understanding that you've thrown into this. And you've definitely given me food for thought, Marcelino. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Derren. Good to catch up.